So being a military brat and a military spouse, we've moved around quite a bit. And there's always with everything else that comes with moving with the military, there's always this pressure, whether it be put on by us or whoever, I don't know. There's always this pressure to find a church quickly. Like get plugged into a church, find a
Mm.
church quickly. And like, okay, got it. Like set a great example for our kids, get plugged in. And so there's always these so maybe I'm revealing too much, but there's always these expectations you put on yourself. Like it has to have a great worship, right? It's got to be fire, great, not actual fire, but fire,
You
it
want
has to
like
A smoke
pyrotechnics.
yes,
I
Okay.
was
yes,
thinking
Okay.
smoke,
smoke machine.
yes, fog
Yeah.
machine. Oh no. So there always has to be great worship and there has to be a super relatable pastor, right? With
Sure.
great stories and then, great youth. There has to be, ability for our kids to get plugged in and like all this kind of stuff. So we put all these expectations on this and then you go, right? And then I don't know what it is. We fast forward a year later, we're still not plugged in. We still don't know a single person. We still go
Mm.
there, go sit in service and then leave. Like there's still all this
Mm.
and I was thinking, I'm like, what is wrong with us?
Oh.
That this keeps happening. Like we keep doing this. I'm like, what is it they're doing? And first, let me say, if you have a military family in your church, like go put your arms around them. They don't have anyone. They're in a
Mhm.
new area. They need
Mhm.
people to come up alongside them and hug them, even if they don't look like they want to be hugged. Hug them.
Jennifer.
And
Even
and
if they look
help
like Jennifer.
and help them get plugged in. Help them, even if they're
Oh.
not vocalizing that, help them get plugged in. Help them feel like they belong. So that was one part of my soapbox. The second part is, you know, you feel lonely and not plugged in, and then so you're but like I said, we're just like fast forward a year, and we're still like this, and we're still not plugged in. All these things, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, well, it's because we expect people at church to
Mm.
know what we're thinking and to read our minds. So we put them on this pedestal of like, yep, they're gonna welcome us and they're gonna become our friends and invite us to all their groups and just, all those
Mhm.
things. And then our expectations aren't met because we never communicated that. We never
Mhm.
communicated that we wanted to be a part of something. We never communicated not, any of that. And so I guess that's my roundabout way of saying we place people on these high pedestals and then we get
Mhm.
upset when they're
Mhm.
human and they don't meet those things and
Mhm.
then we get frustrated and then we remove ourselves from that. And then
Mhm.
we go do this cycle again. And I think that it is so important that we communicate what we need to people,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because they're not like, it's not fair almost to them, like, that we have all these
Mhm.
expectations and then they don't meet it, and then we leave.
Right. Then we're upset.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, those are my thoughts this
I
week.
think that's a beautiful story. It's really a vulnerable place to be, to
Yeah,
recognize that, like, your family's in a vulnerable spot where you're new, you're
yeah,
military, so there's all the stress from that
Mhm.
alone, and
yeah,
then you're also just, like, really hopeful that people are gonna approach you and, like, pay attention to you,
right.
So it's, like, a really vulnerable place to be, and
Mhm.
really beautiful that you can see, like, maybe your own struggle with expecting things from people,
Right,
you
yeah.
know? Even
Mhm.
though, like, honestly, like, it's kind of you're in a tough spot. You would think that you would hope that people would see that, and I'm sorry that you've had that journey.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
but I also recognize it's us too. We can't only, expect people to reach out to us, like, we need to put ourselves out there, and we need to, anyways,
Mhm.
I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah. No,
Any thoughts?
I've been there, done that, different, you know, chapter, but yeah, I think sometimes that uh, we don't say what we
Yeah.
expect, you
Mm.
know, or we have such high expectations, or I would
Mhm.
I wanna say not high expectation, but unrealistic
Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
expectations of
Mhm.
people that, we do set ourselves up for disappointment and,
Mhm.
hurt feelings, frustrations, and, we just need to always, "Okay, I'm feeling this.
Yeah.
What was I expecting? Where were my unrealistic
Mhm.
expectations in this situation?"
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Even in
You know,
friendships
even
too,
in friendships,
or
yeah.
your
Mhm.
spouse, like,
Right,
Mhm.
right. I was
eh
just gonna say that
sorry.
church sometimes is a different I think it's a different, dynamic because that's where we're supposed to go, for relationship, for
Yeah.
godly relationship, you know?
Mhm.
And, or, that's what we can expect from a church, right? And we don't always find that, but that's a whole different topic on a whole different day, but, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that you kind of bring up some questions in my head that, when is something like an appropriate boundary, right? For like how people should act versus like a high expectation. I like that you brought up the point of like unrealistic, like, and I
Mhm.
think maybe this is something we just like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it almost seems like sometimes you have to sometimes like manage that for yourself. Like,
Mhm.
where am I like kind of going too far, and where do I have to have, like, a set of standards for how people are allowed to treat me, you know?
Right. Right. I think the one time that your dad and I did it right, well, we did it right this time, but one time before this, joining a church, we, went in with zero expectation.
Mhm, mhm,
We looked at their statement of faith
Right,
and
yeah.
those things, but we hadn't. We went in that our only expectation was within ourselves. That what are we going to do to let God use us? What are
mhm,
we going to do? How are
That's
we going to offer blessings for others? And that
mhm,
worked well.
mhm.
Yeah.
when was that?
When we went to our last church in Anchorage.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, you
We
guys
loved
I
it.
I
and
did
you
think you
guys
guys did a great job there because I know, like, your history had been, like, kind of looking for a church, and
Mhm.
I loved how it seemed like you went into, because we used to go to that church too when we lived in Anchorage, and you guys really went into it with this, like, place of, like, 0 expectations for how
Mhm.
people were gonna treat you, like, within reason, but,
Yeah,
Right.
you
Of
didn't
course.
expect people to be friendly, you didn't expect them to, like, chat with you, and I felt like you just went, like, in it, and I feel like, that's
mhm.
kind of been our expectation with joining the new church since we moved is, like, just kind of trying to put ourselves out there, and it was helpful
Mhm.
that we knew people at our new church, but, I think, unfortunately, if we kinda camp on the church expectations for a minute, I think, I think that is something you kinda have to do, which is kinda
Mhm.
hard when you're in a
Yeah.
spot like you are, Jen, where you're
Mhm.
moving and your
Yeah.
whole life is kind of up in the air as you're
Mhm.
being in the military, so
Yeah.
it's
I
kinda it's
think
kind
that's a
Yeah.
of
good
hard.
Like what you're saying, like, that's a good way to look at it, like, go
Mhm.
into a church like that or new church, like, how can I serve rather than,
How can they
like
serve
what we
me?
did.
And yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
when the trash is full and I know I've walked by it 6 times and so is everyone else,
Mhm,
but no one will take it out. And then you just get
Yeah.
mhm,
frustrated. My expectation is that if I'm cooking, then other people should help clean and
mm,
make the area okay to cook, and that is
Mhm.
including taking out the trash.
Mhm. Yeah. A couple of
mhm,
weeks ago, I was kinda just overwhelmed, had a lot going on, kinda busy. Things were, kinda coming and going, and I walked out of my office, and I'm looking around, and somebody is sitting in a chair reading a book.
Ooh, damn.
I know. And it was like,
Why can't he rest?
"Oh, really? You're gonna say that?" Anyway, it was my expectation that he would get, at least the kitchen and the living area picked up, and But, of course, I hadn't shared that expectation. I haven't even
Mhm.
asked
How
him to
messy
do
does it
that.
get with just the 2 of you?
Yeah, pretty messy. Stella, you know? But anyway, I had an expectation that I didn't share, and I kind of did the silent treatment for the rest of the evening,
Mhm.
and then the next morning, he goes, "Is everything okay with you?" And I just let him have it. And he was, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that that's what you needed me to do."
Oops.
And then it was like, "Oh
Oh,
gosh, I'm
I know.
that's so
Then you're
petty,"
like, "Ugh."
but yeah, it was just like it was me
Mhm.
assuming.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I hear you both saying, though, that, like, when we're feeling that way, we need to
Mhm.
communicate our needs,
Right.
People are
which can
not
feel
Yeah.
mind readers.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like, I don't wanna say this, but, yeah, I think we have to, especially as, like, moms, wives. I don't know.
Yeah,
It does seem like
yeah.
something that to me would be pretty, like, when I see the trash full, I also take it out. But maybe people just don't see it. That's where I have to land sometime. Like, it's not personal, especially if we're talking about marriage maybe and kids,
Mm.
like, it's not personal.
I
Yeah.
think
But
I have
if they walk past the trash can and we're looking
do
the
this,
way,
then you
Yeah,
know
right?
something is up.
it is personal. I
As somebody who maybe is like a skosh less type A than
What
the 2 of you in Florida,
what do you mean? What do
I have a little bit more grace because I sometimes feel like I miss things. Does that make sense? Like, I don't miss the trash because that's kinda like the kitchen. I spend a lot of time
Mhm.
in there, but, like, there will be other things that I, like, really miss, and Ben will be
Mhm.
like, "How did you not see that you drove away with the extension cord again?" So I do feel like a little more grace, but I get it. Like, his expectation is that I notice things in my car that I'm just like, "I don't know." And when we
Mhm.
had an issue with my car a few weeks ago, and he was like, "How long has it been leaking oil?" I'm like, if I knew it was leaking oil, I would have told you. I don't know how long it's been leaking oil.
I also don't feel like I should have to ever get gas.
Oh my gosh, this is such a weird lower 48 thing that I see on Instagram. Like, what woman is not pumping gas? How dangerous are the gas stations down there?
I just don't that's not my job. Just kidding.
I think Ben would divorce me. Um, anyway, but
No, I'm just
I
teasing.
wanna throw this from, like, a little different perspective because
Yeah.
as you guys were talking, I was thinking about there was a time in my life where somebody had, like, a unrealistic expectation of me
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
then when I found out it was, like, unreal, I was going through this really tough postpartum recovery, and I think kind of what we have talked about several times in this, podcast is that it's easy to kind of put on, like, a show of, like, who you are and not
Yeah.
be really honest
Mhm.
with how you're actually doing, and that's what I was kinda surviving that postpartum season by the hair on my
Pretending.
chinny chin
Mhm.
chin,
Yeah.
I had a friend, like, talk to me about how disappointed she was in me because
Sure.
she had this, like, I feel like a really unrealistic expectation that I would be, like, attending, like, hiking events that she was putting on. And I had to kind of tell her, like, because maybe in the past I would have shown up to things that people were putting on. And I had to tell her, like, friend, like, I'm hanging on, but I'm not doing well. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not really able to attend these right now. Like,
Mhm.
in the evening, I have to be with my husband because I'm panicking. Like,
Mm.
things are not well for me, you know?
Yeah.
And it was interesting to, like, I mean, she's a delightful human and all is well, but it was interesting to be on the receiving end of that and feel like people didn't know your heart. They kind of lost like perspective in their own
Mhm.
hurt. And I think sometimes that's where like
That's good.
these kind of unrealistic expectations are is like we are ourselves like feeling an intense emotion and we kind of lose perspective on like
Mhm.
the bigger picture,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
maybe she was hurt that I wasn't supporting her hiking, but, like, the bigger picture was I was drowning, and I'm sorry she was hurting or hurt that I didn't support that, or maybe that picture is mom, like, you're overworked, and so it's hard to
Mhm.
come out and see somebody on their iPad, but maybe the intention
Mhm.
wasn't there to be annoying, you know? And so, like,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Right.
I just feel like some of this is, like, communicating, like, when we start to feel that, like,
Yep.
it's, like, devastating to ourself is, like, maybe a few
Absolutely.
steps before that, we communicate
Mhm.
if we can. Like,
Mhm.
"Hey, like, it would be really important if you went on this hike," instead of after the fact, like, "You're a terrible friend, you
Mhm.
haven't been on these hikes," you know? And it, like,
Mhm.
made me feel I felt devastated hearing that because I was, like
Yeah.
I was hanging on, like, doing the best I could,
Mhm.
you know? And anyway, so
I
I don't know,
remember I
sort
remember
through all
that.
that for me.
Yeah, I remember that, Katie. I remember that time when that happened to you, and you truly were struggling, and that was, it was almost like, wow, now, you're struggling, and now this hurt you that
Sure, yeah. It was
you
the kind
you
of a
know
nail in the coffin of feeling like a
Yeah,
failure, you know, like
yeah,
and obviously, like, a lot of that was myself, you know, like but it just kind of felt like my husband is feeling me, my kids are feeling this failure, and now my friends are feeling the failure, you
mhm,
know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think obviously I was struggling, so none of that was true.
Mhm.
But it is
Mhm.
kind of like I think maybe even in our struggle with confrontation and our struggle with being honest and real, this happens, you know?
mhm.
Like
Yeah,
if we could as people of God talk to each other before we get
mhm.
to,
Yeah.
pointing
To
fingers.
that yeah, to that place. That you just really convicted me because,
Not
yeah,
purposefully.
well, but no, that it's a good conviction that we do need to, because I do this often. I will get to the place where I'm, you
To
know,
your max.
I'm maxed.
Yeah.
And I expect wrong, but I expect, my husband or my kids to
To
see
know.
that.
Yep.
And then I'm opening myself up for hurt because, everybody has their own life, right? But to hear that perspective of,
Yeah.
hey, that really hurt you, that your friend didn't feel the, the closeness to come to you and go, "Hey, Katie, is everything okay?"
Sure. Yeah.
That it compounded this feeling of being a failure.
Sure. And I think there's
Yeah.
a softness, kind of like a humility in like dropping kind of like, oh, well,
Mhm.
that hurt me. I feel like you, mom, recommended a book a few years ago about how Satan uses
Yeah.
hurt feelings,
It's called The Bait of Satan,
bait of
Oh,
and
Satan.
it's
interesting.
just um, it's having that, offended
Yeah.
spirit all the
Yeah.
time.
Mm.
You're offended about everything. You're offended about being offended, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
Right.
interesting.
yeah,
That's really
I
interesting.
yeah,
don't know, like I don't know any other antidote to high expectations than, like, communicating them. Because
Yeah,
mhm,
that's exactly
yesterday,
right.
Ben left on a trip, and, it was so cute. He was, like, snuggling the kids on the couch, and it was, like, real cute for, like, 20 minutes until I was like, "I know the end of this story. He's gonna get to, like, where he's about to walk out the door and not have anything done, and he's gonna be angry." And so I kind of like, maybe not in my softest tone, but I was starting to get angry because 'cause I'm like, there's gonna be so much to do in like
yeah,
40 minutes. And so I had to like kind of soften because at first I was like, I'm about to be a solo mom for whatever days. And you're just sitting on the couch. Like that was my internal, but then I was like, no, no, no. Like, like
Yeah.
pump the
yeah.
brakes. Hey, Ben, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed with everything that has to get done.
That's
Can you get up
good.
and help me? I thought I did great.
Mhm,
That's great.
Yeah, and then I said sometimes this makes him a little frustrated, but I said like this is what I need done, you know.
mhm,
And then
mhm.
like this is what you need to do to like get out the door.
Yeah.
Um yeah, but just like being able to like soften and communicate. I heard this great thing. I don't know who said it, but it was basically like in marriage like remember you're on the same team. And
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
many times I think when we're, like, angry and resentful and hurt with high expectations, it's like we've forgotten we're,
Mhm.
like, teammates, you know?
right, right.
S
And a team doesn't win unless you all win, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I don't know how this circles back, Jen, to that.
I know.
'Cause
I
part of me is like, you should have expectations going into a church that people are gonna be friendly to you.
And they are, like, every single time we've never, like, felt like people were unfriendly at a church,
Yeah.
but I think where we dropped the ball was, as we start going there more often, maybe, like, a month in, we should communicate, like, "Hey, we're trying to get plugged in, we're trying to build some friendships," and asking people, like, "Can you help me get plugged in? Or can you help point me to a good small
Mhm.
group?" Or, like, a place
Yeah.
that I can go to get plugged in, and I think we never did that, like, at any
Yeah.
of the
Mhm.
places, and so I think, that's bad on us. Yes, absolutely, people should be friendly and welcoming, especially in the military. I will say that. Some people don't like to get close to military people because they know they're gonna leave, you
Oh,
know what I
never
mean?
even
So
thought of
Oh,
that.
yeah.
yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, I'm sure you felt that
Mhm.
too, with us growing up, but which is super lame. Um, but anyways, but yeah, absolutely we could have communicated our expectations, no, those expectations, or just asked for
Mhm.
help in the least, like the least part of it.
Mhm.
So we
Yeah,
did a
but that
little
is
bit better
hard to
this time.
do. Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. A
That is
little bit
hard to
better.
do though when you're feeling, like, beat
I
up,
know.
you know?
And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Or when you're going into a new culture,
Yeah.
a
Mhm.
new system,
Mhm.
everything is new. You have 3 kids in tow that you're trying to, yeah, make sure
Yeah, you're
everything is
balancing
for
their
them.
needs
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
Yeah, that's so hard. I've been reading in Hebrews, like, I just finished it actually, and, man, I'm just, like, butchering all of my, like, where things came from today, but, there's this part of Hebrews that talks about, like, okay, then now, like, how do we respond? And it was basically, like, make sure, like, you don't let anybody fall away and, like, keep your eyes on the prize and, like, don't
Mm.
forget, like,
Mhm.
the basics and, like, obviously, I'm butchering Hebrews, sorry. Peter who wrote Hebrews,
No.
but basically I love that piece of like, like help your fellow people around you, like
yeah.
keep their focus and so often I think we look at ourselves and like our hurt and our offense and our needs and our
Mhm.
exhaustion and we kind of lose track of like what really matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really true.
So
But
easy to do.
Mhm.
so bottom line, communicate.
Bottom line,
Communicate.
communicate.
Josh thinks I talk too much already, so
Communicate and listen.
that's a good yep, yep, that's a good piece of it too to remember,
Yeah,
but
communicate and listen.
anyways,
I know
so
Ben called me this morning. It's such like a good example of like what a good husband he is because he called me this morning. He's like standing in Vancouver, like looking at float planes take off. There's like seagulls in the background and
Oh,
he's like, so sweet. And I go on like a 27-minute tirade on like legalism and like like forcing people to be happy so they are, good. And I just like went on this like
what?
tangent, like kid you not. It
Oh,
said like
that's funny.
27 minutes. And I was like, okay, so like great. Glad we had this talk. And I was
great.
like, you probably didn't want to hear this. I had like this moment where I was like, you probably didn't want to hear this. And he was like, you are correct. I was like, "Hey,
You
you're supposed to say you love the process
Uh-huh,
with me."
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Mhm.
funny.
Yeah,
You
I'm
are
like,
correct.
you are
You
correct.
are correct."
Oh my goodness, that's so
I can
funny.
hear him.
Whatever.
But
He loves it.
I
yeah.
know, I know. You make his world spin.
Okay, so
Spin.
our takeaways from this episode
Are Jennifer's
communicate.
crazy.
Yes.
Communicate your
Communicate.
feelings. Give
People are
Jennifer
not
hugs. She
yeah.
loves snuggles.
People are not mind readers.
Okay.
And then don't put these, you know, God-size expectations on people and then
Yeah.
expect them to fulfill them because guess what? We're all human and we're going to
Mhm.
fail and it's not going to work and there's going to
Yeah,
be hurt and all
yeah.
Mhm.
those things.
That's good
So,
takeaways.
yep, good takeaway. So,
I want take out. I do not wanna cook tonight.
do it. If you like this content, if you like the level of crazy that we bring, don't forget to follow, subscribe, share, help us grow this community of people who need to hear this, who need to be a part of it. So, Awesome. Well, with that, keep going, keep breathing, and remember to tell yourself, honey, that's grace. Bye,
Mhm.
guys.
Your support means so much. Like, comment, share, and subscribe so we can keep growing this community together.